Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm tackling a huge 10-foot long table for a local brewery, and this was a surprisingly challenging build where I managed to ruin this expensive table not once, but twice. But first up, I'm taking this 12-foot slab I got from VRL here in Oklahoma City, and I'm cutting it down to 10 foot because that's the maximum capacity on my CNC for flattening a slab. So like I mentioned, I'm building a table for a local brewery, which happens to be my favorite brewery, Stone Cloud. So it was really exciting when after years of begging them to build a table for their tap room, they finally said yes and asked me to build a table for their second location, which is like an hour and a half away from where I live, ensuring that I'll never actually get to use this table myself. Anyways, this is a locally sourced walnut slab I got from my friends over at Vintage Reclaimed Lumber in Oklahoma City. I talk about that place a lot on this channel, but it's seriously the coolest lumber yard around, full of really unique slabs and really cool reclaimed lumber. So if you're ever in the Oklahoma City area, make sure you stop by and tell them Johnny sent you, and they'll give you a discount on your purchase. And I actually try not to use walnuts so much. On this project, I actually was looking for some more pecan like I used a couple videos ago. And I feel like walnut is just used too much. It's so prevalent. But again, I just can't help myself because walnut is just so beautiful. I understand why people use it. And it goes so well with sort of the industrial style table that I have planned and that Stone Cloud logo that I'm going to carve into the top. All right, let's jump into the design of this table, and since I recently got a plasma CNC from Avid, I wanted to utilize plate steel to cut on the plasma for the base. Now, I didn't anticipate the challenges working with plate steel would present, but as you will see, it almost cost me this entire build, and what should have taken weeks took months. And the first thing I want to do is inlay some C-channel into the underside to keep it from warping. Now the slab has fairly straight edges, but it does expand from 26 inches on one side to 32 inches on the other. And on the underside of the slab, that difference is even more pronounced because the edges of the slab kind of slant downward. And because of that, 2 of the 4 pieces of the 24-inch wide C-channel that I ordered for this project, they were too wide for this build. So I'm cutting those down on my Grizzly G613 metal bandsaw. I just got this from Grizzly. They donated it to me. And this is a huge upgrade to my metal shop, and to have that ability to quickly, accurately cut steel without throwing a ton of metal sawdust or chips all over the place, this is a really nice upgrade to the shop. And real quick, I want to introduce a new member of the Jonny Builds team, Aldo, who's going to be running the camera. And I'm also running a new competition in this video, and moving forward, we're going to call it Where's Aldo? So look for Aldo hidden somewhere in the rest of this video. The first one to spot him and leave a comment with a timestamp of Where's Aldo wins a free Jonny Builds t-shirt. So far, I've flattened the slab, I've installed the C-channel, and now I've got to do the scariest part of this whole build where I'm going to carve in that Stone Cloud logo on the top of the slab, and then later we're going to fill that with epoxy. Real quick here, I want to jump in and give some context for Stone Cloud's awesome logo. The brewery is located in the old Sunshine Laundry building that had sort of this iconic neon sign on top of the building, and Stone Cloud adopted that sun logo from that sign into their own logo after renovating the building, which was in such bad repair, like it didn't even have a roof. I've been working for the last 2 days to create the vectors. Vectors are essentially an image like a JPEG. A lot of you are familiar with JPEG. It's like that, but they're infinitely scalable without losing any of the resolution. You create vectors and then use that to create your toolpaths from. I think it looks awesome, but if I mess this up, this table is going to be screwed. I'm going to have to like flatten it all off. There's no room for error on this one. Let's go carve. So I'm putting some Gleam varnish on here from Total Boat. This is gonna seal the top of the slab and prevent any staining from that epoxy. I was so nervous about the carves, but they came out so good. I mean, this looks Awesome. I cannot wait to see this come alive after I pour the epoxy in it. Now it's time to do the epoxy pours, which I'm gonna be working with a couple different colors. As you see, I've already done the white, and my strategy for doing this is I wanna do it color by color, starting with the lightest, working my way up through the darkest. That way, if it does spill over the top and leak into another little trench here, I can cover that up with the next color. This is what I modeled the whole kind of design off of. They had sent me this image of one of their wraps on their vans, and I really liked the gradient, so that's what I added to the sides of this. All right, so essentially what I'm doing is paint by numbers. You know, when you're in elementary school and you're doing paint by numbers and you're like, how is this ever gonna benefit me in my real job? This is how. Light yellow here. Next, we have light orange. This one right here is orange, and then all the short ones. Orange, orange. Then all the long ones are red. So they have a really cool logo and a really cool color palette. So I was able to mix these colors using the Total Boat pigments, and the epoxy that I'm using here is Total Boat High Performance, which to me is the best all-around epoxy on the market. You guys know that Total Boat has been a long-time sponsor of this channel. They've been with me almost from the very beginning, and I truly do love their products and stand by them. So if you want to check that out, I've got a link down below for the Total Boat website, and that's going to give you a discount on every purchase you make on their website. Plus it helps support my sponsors, which helps support this channel, and I always appreciate that. Okay, this is looking really good. I mean, kudos to Stone Cloud for having such a beautiful logo, and the color palette is amazing. And seeing that contrast against the walnut, like, I'm really enjoying seeing this thing come together. Now, the next thing we need to do is make the table base. And I'm gonna do that by cutting out some steel on a plasma CNC. I have an Avid plasma CNC right out there. You know, I've never used a plasma myself, so there's a learning curve, and there's a couple more things that I need to figure out. And I'm out of time being able to do that with this project. Because I'm out of time, we're gonna head out to my buddy Richard from 42 Fab, and he's got a plasma CNC. He's gonna cut all our parts for us. And that is why having a plasma CNC is a freaking superpower. I cannot wait to get mine up and running. Big shout out to Richard from 42 Fab. He's got this this website right here, Weld It Yourself Kits. You're definitely gonna wanna check that out. If you're thinking about getting into welding and you want some easy projects to kind of get you started, this website is awesome. These parts, they came out really nice. But what I wanna do before I get them back to the house, they're gonna start rusting and all that. So I'm gonna get them cleaned up right here in the back of my truck. Thankfully, I've got my jacker right here, and I can just throw a wire wheel on it and get them cleaned up. So real quick, I want to talk about this little engineering marvel behind me known as the Honda Ridgeline. And I've been getting some hate in the comments on my choice of vehicular transport. They tell me, hey, this isn't a real truck. But I submit to you, no truck is more masculine than this noble steed. It literally has a tailgate that opens in not one, but two separate axes. Not to mention the crazy amount of groceries you can store in the trunk. Yeah, you heard that right. My truck has a trunk, and it's literally all-wheel drive, meaning you can drive on all four wheels. And don't even get me started about all the times when I drop my daughter off at daycare and all the other moms are checking out my ride thinking, should I trade in my minivan? It's been a while since I've welded, but I recently partnered with Lincoln Electric, and I have their PowerMig 215 multi-process welder. This is a really solid machine that can make even an average welder like myself seem like a pro. And I feel like welding is an intimidating process for a lot of folks to start, but essentially it's just a hot glue gun with a bad attitude. Not my quote, I stole that from Richard, but it's a good one. And essentially you are just gluing metal together. So it's another process that once you learn it, it feels a bit like a superpower. But then I had to set that aside to do the final epoxy pours. And all I had left was that dark red color to finish out the design. I let that cure overnight and then came back the next day, flattened off the excess epoxy. And I had these cracks on the end that went all the way through the slab, and filling these with epoxy isn't going to stop that crack from spreading. So I'm going to inlay these with some bow ties using this acrylic routing template, and adding bow ties is going to help hold that crack together and prevent the crack from growing larger during any sort of seasonal wood movement. Now the router bit does have a rounded corner, which I need to then come back and square these up with a chisel, so technically these are hand cut bow ties. Throughout this video, you've seen that having access to on-demand portable power in my shop and outside is very important. And that's why I'm excited to say that I partner with Jackery, the sponsor of today's video. And having access to fast, on-demand portable power anywhere in my shop is a game changer. So I've had the Jackery Explorer 2000 plus portable power station in my shop for a couple months now, and there is so much that you can do with this unit. Now, as I've shown you, it's great for portable power anywhere in my shop where maybe I don't want to pull an extension cord or I'm out of outlets, but it's also great for when you're working on a job site, doing an install, something like that. The Jackery Explorer 2000 plus portable power station is packed with amazing features, and Jackery just launched the Jackery 300 plus, which is great for camping. It's lightweight, it fits in a backpack, it's awesome. They also launched the Jackery 1000 plus, and that can power your adventures, whether you're overlanding or camping. It can also be backup power for your home. And these all work with the Jackery Solar Saga solar panels to give you on-demand portable power anytime in any scenario. So thanks to Jackery for sponsoring this video. Getting back to the table base, I have more of that flat bar to weld in the edge of the 3 legs, and then I can put the whole base together and finally be done with this table. The base bolts together with these 5 sections, but this is where I started to realize that maybe this project wasn't as straightforward as I thought. Okay, we just put the tabletop on the base, and holy crap, this thing looks so good. Better than I imagined. It's got a very sort of what I'm referring to as a vintage industrial vibe. There's a problem. Let me show you.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It's not supposed to do that. That's unfortunate. I thought my design was gonna be sturdy enough. It clearly isn't. So what I'm gonna do, I've gotta run to the steel yard and I'm gonna get some, I think I'm gonna get some 1 by 3 inch rectangle tube. I'm gonna run a stretcher across the bottom and a stretcher across the top, and then it'll weld the whole base together. No one wants to go to a brewery and drink a beer like this. And the Jackery came in clutch again, as I had to go to the steel yard, get this 24 stick of rectangle tube, and then cut that down. You know, they're gonna charge me extra to cut this, and it also takes like several hours for you to wait on them to cut it. So it was a lot easier just to do this myself in the parking lot. So back at the shop, I have to cut in a pocket on the middle leg to set the stretcher in. I had zero doubts this was gonna solve my issues. Honestly, I hated how this looked, and the base just, it's starting to look really busy and overbuilt and not at all what I intended. Okay, so we've got the bottom piece welded on, and that did short up quite a bit, but there's still flex. And what I'm figuring out, Jeff, come on in here. What I'm figuring out, the flex is coming in the actual upright. I thought that welding on these 2.5 inch flat bar would make it really solid, but it didn't, because there's nothing going across to stiffen that up. But the problem, I think, is how I designed the base to begin with. I used 1/8 inch steel. I think at this point, before I waste any more time, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. I'm gonna redesign the 3 lower legs, and I'm gonna have them recut, and then I'm gonna have to re-weld. Not ideal. It's about a $12,000 table. I am this close to ruining the whole thing. I'm definitely gonna be losing money on this with having to get rid of all the steel, wasting materials. I just hope my next version isn't wobbly. So I came up with this new design, and this time the base is made from 1/4-inch plate steel, and there's no way this is gonna have any flex to it because 1/4-inch plate is really strong. And I'm sort of glad that I had to redesign because I think this version of the table base looks way better than my first attempt. And again, there was just too much going on there. So what's that old saying? Second time's the charm? Yeah, second time's the charm. I got that all welded up in Richard's shop. Again, shout out to Richard for all his help on this project. And then we got back to the shop. Jeff and I assembled the base knowing that now we're finally done with this project. No more issues, no more problem solving, no more mistakes, just smooth sailing from here on out. And then I got the recesses for the base attachment carved in and then installed the threaded inserts because I'm totally done with this table, right? No, I wasn't. Off camera, I noticed the base was still wobbly, so I'm gonna slightly modify it right here. And I went back to the steel yard to get some more of that flat bar, and then I'm gonna weld that into the curve. Like before, I had a piece of 1/4-inch plate steel just spanning across the bottom, but I had Jeff cut that off, and then we can bend in and weld that flat bar into that lower curve, and then that's gonna be the thing that solves the wobble on this new version of the table base. After going through all that work to design, have it cut, and build a second base, it's still wobbly. Yeah, this is extremely frustrating, but check it out. It's better than the first base, but there's still some wobble. Yeah, this is the point where I admit that I don't know how to fix it, but thankfully I have a friend who does. I'm back here at Richard's again. I brought all the parts of this table base. We're gonna go inside and see if we can't troubleshoot this thing and finally get rid of that wobble so I can get this thing delivered, get this project done. Let's go solve this. Okay, so we got the table base assembled, and Richard already has an idea of how it's gonna get shored up pretty easily, just actually welding on some angle iron on the end to shore up those brackets. We're gonna clamp those on and see if that even changes anything, so I'll check in here in a second. We threw on these pieces of angle iron, that's 1/4-inch angle iron, and added some clamps. I mean, it is
kind of the movements in the feet, not the body. So
yeah, it's so much stiffer. So this is gonna fix my problem. It's a little bit different of a look that I was going for, but I think I can clean this up and make it look really good. So thanks, man. Save the day again. And that's crazy how simple that solution was. Come check it out. Just adding that C channel to the end, the whole thing is super sturdy now, and that's not even welded on, that's just with clamps. It's just my lack of experience working with this medium, working with plate steel that's cut on a plasma table. So what I did wrong here was I added these cutouts, but I didn't do anything to strengthen this piece right here, which is kind of the fulcrum of the whole table. So yeah, this is 1/4-inch steel plate, but when I cut these out and you're just relying on this 3-inch wide piece, that's where that flex was coming from. Now that I'm gonna attach the C channel, strengthens up that piece, essentially makes it more of a 3-dimensional piece, which adds strength to the entire table. Really simple solution, not really all that elegant, but it's gonna freaking work. I can finally get this table done today. I'm really excited to get this thing out of here, and I'm really glad that I did not ruin a $12,000 table. So after designing and building and messing up 2 separate table bases, I finally had a solution, and it was so simple. You can see here that I swapped out that angle iron for the C channel, which actually looks way better and worked just as well. And I actually finally solved the wobble issue. And as a matter of fact, this table is absolutely rock solid. And it's crazy how just that one piece changed so much. I did want to put my personal touch on this commission piece, so I fired up my Omtech 130-watt laser and then carved a walnut medallion with the date that we were going to deliver this table. And this Omtech laser has been a great addition to my shop. Probably the most bang for your buck that you can get in a laser. So if you're into lasers or something that you think you might want to check out, definitely check out Omtech. I've got a link for that down below. And because I love digital manufacturing so much, I'm going to inlay that medallion with my other new high-tech toy, the Shaper Origin, which allows me to essentially bring a CNC to the material versus taking the material to the CNC. Even though this technically isn't a CNC, I don't even know what quite to call it other than awesome. And when I was done cutting that pocket, that fit was perfect. And I couldn't really show you that because if I would have put that all the way down in there, I would have never been able to pull it all back out. But trust me, it had an airtight fit. Next up, I'm finishing the table with some Rubio Monocoat, and I don't think I've ever built a table that is going to get as much use as this. Some of you out there may think that, oh, Rubio is not that durable of a finish, it's just like a hard wax oil. But its main use is as a finish for hardwood floors, and I don't think anybody's going to be walking on this table unless there's some sort of potential coyote ugly situation. But even then, it would hold up nicely, especially since the last step is to add the N3 Nano finish, which then adds a nano layer of hardness and protection while also upping the sheen and just making it look overall better. My projects aren't truly finished until I've added N3 Nano. Again, I want to make you guys aware of all the awesome products that I use. So if you're interested, make sure you check out the link below and you can see for yourself. But with that, this table is finally finished after 3 months and we can go install it. And like I said, this is my favorite brewery in Oklahoma City. So it truly is an honor to build a table for the tap room, even though they're going to move this next week to the Stillwater tap room. And maybe that's why they were able to sweet talk me into accepting beer instead of actually cash as a payment. I mean, the beer was flowing like wine when I signed the contract, but I'm pretty sure that I made out the better end of the deal, right? I mean, I make all my best decisions after 4 beers. But before I show it off to the owner, here's a couple beauty shots for you guys. And I want to know, what do you all think of this table? Did you like the second version better than the first? Would you drink a beer at it? Or a seltzer if you're one of those gluten-free weirdos, which I'm allowed to say that because my wife has celiac. Okay, so the table's all set up. It looks really, really good in here. Even though it's not going to stay here, it's going to the tap room in Stillwater. The owner, Joel, is here, and we're going to show him the table and see what he thinks. Joel, there you go, man. What do you think?
Yeah, this thing is amazing.
I mean, kudos to StoneCloud for having a really cool logo that makes this table look really good, because your logo is killer.
Yeah, oh, man, everything about it is amazing.
Honestly, like I said, I had to build a second version of the base, but I actually like the second version better than the first. So we still incorporated the Sunshine Laundry sun logo in there, but it's not so busy on the ends here.
Yeah.
She's not going anywhere.
No wobble at all. Man, this thing is incredible.
Cool, dude.
Gonna have some beers on it.
Heck yeah, we should, for sure. Okay, this build was a total roller coaster, but I'm finally done, and I am really, really proud of the results. It looks awesome. It looks better than I could have imagined. So all of that was totally worth it. Make sure you get subscribed if you haven't already. Comment this if you watch to the end.